Welcome everybody to another edition of New Japan 2004 here in TEW 2020. We're now past the G1 Climax with Nagata as the winner, and now we're moving on to the NJPW Strong Tour, which of course is called something else in reality, but the name was a little weird. And I've also, the original ending show for this tour was the Pro Wrestler Be Strongest show, which I've renamed to for another named show just because that was more focused on basically New Japan versus shooters, and I've sort of really downplayed that outside of the actual specific shooter little stable we have, and most of those people are currently like out either injured, setting up for or setting up for an MMA fight. They don't have a lot to do with them either, so I've reset it, rescheduled it for something slightly different. But, you know, this is sort of the first show at Korakuen Hall, setting things up. I'm going to you'll probably see 3 or 4 shows of setup, and then the final show with this video. So let's get rolling, live from Korakuen Hall. And we start out with some debuts as Adam Pearce and John Walters make their New Japan debut, teaming up with Blue Wolf to face off against the young boys of Yamamoto, Taguchi, and Anzawa. And they get the win here when Blue Wolf pins Anzawa with a lariat in a little over 10 minutes. This is mostly just a match to test their ratings, see if because they both have almost no popularity, so I want to see but there's all decent workers, so I want to see how well they would work. So it looks like we have Blue Wolf getting 49, John Wolf getting 34, and Chris getting 34, and getting 27, Taguchi getting 35, and Wolf getting 31. So yeah, I mean they're not going to be right away top tier workers or anything, or top tier members of the roster, but they're decent, and we can work with them to build something new as far as them working here. But yeah, I mean, these guys will mostly be made up for fill out the undercard, just so it's not, I'm just so I have some more options for undercard matches. So it's just not young boys versus the old, the guys like Nagai or Ryoto anymore. And plus, I can get some wins, see if they actually get better or see what they do. But yeah, solid match, 31 pre-show ding, plus Blue Wolf and Yamamoto's getting really stable, not the end of the world or anything. Next up, we have 2 more debuts as Fred Sampson and Vito Tomaselli make their debut, teaming up, facing off against Roderick Strong and Curryman. And Strong and Curryman get the win over Sampson and Vito here in a little under 10 minutes, and Curryman pins Vito Tomaselli with the last rights. Curryman gets a 61, Strong gets a 53. And see, these guys are a little bit lower. Honestly, I'll see how they're doing at the end of the tour. Basically, these guys are both brought in under ongoing contracts, which is basically just touring contracts. And at the end of the tour, we'll see how they're doing in comparison to the start of the tour. And if there's some decent improvement, I might keep them on. But if there's not really much improvement, then honestly, they're probably not going to be doing much. But at least they get this shot anyway. They get the win. Strong and Kerman get the win here, getting 36. And then in our next match, we have Rick Steiner and Rotary Animal of American Muscle, bringing in somebody new, Mana, who's a member, part of that big old Samoan family, coming in, and as they face off against Hiroseta, Ryoto Chiozen, and Inoki, and in the match here, in a little under 9 minutes, Steiner gets the pin over Inoki with Flying Bulldog. This gets a 52, Mana gets a 39, Inoki gets a 62, Steiner gets a 53, Inoki gets a 38, Ryoto gets a 40, and Seto gets a 35. So Mana's, again, coming in for somebody who can team up in 6-mans with Steiner and Animal since I'm not having Goldberg show up on every show, but this is also works as a way to see if he's somebody else who can actually be part of a long-term project, and he actually does pretty well here considering it's 39. It's not bad, but they get the win here. Get to look strong. Next up, we have our first match, which actually has some something to it, as in about that decent for the crowd. Hiroko Goto and Yukitaro Yoshi of New Japan Black get the win over Nago and Tanahashi in 30 minutes when Goto pins Nago with the Go to Heaven. This gets a 55, mostly because of Tanahashi, as he gets a 73. Goto gets a 40, though. Yoshi gets a 32, and Nago gets a 27. And so Goto gets the win here, and then post-match, he faces off against Tanahashi, pointing at Tanahashi's under 30 belt, and looks like he wants another chance at that belt that he first, he had a chance near the beginning of the year after winning the Young Lions Cup, but now looks like he wants another shot at Tanahashi's belt, as this gets a 54. And then we have our next match, which is basically the gimmick is being pushed is that these 4 men from 4 different junior heavyweight tag teams will face off, and the winners will then face off in a singles match to determine who will basically be next contenders for the junior heavyweight tag titles, and a decent match. Tiger Mask and Bryan Danielson get the win over Milano Collection AT, and one half of the tag champs, Minoru Fujita, in 1432, when Tiger Mask 4 pins Fujita with a Tiger Suplex hold. So actually, I mean, gimmick is if Milano and Fuji gets win, Milano will get a rematch along with his partner, Kanemoto, but they don't, so Mask and Bryan Danielson will face off. That's 4. But 59, solid stuff. Danielson gets a 44 because he's injured. Mask 4 gets a 54. Fuji gets a 46, and Milano JT gets a 61. And then in the next, in sort of a big match, Isumu Kadaka and Mitsui Nagai of the Wild Dogs, who of course get another big win over Makame and Nishimura of the Supernova Gun. When in a little under 15 minutes, Kadaka actually gets a submission on Shinya Makabe. This gets a 61, Nishimura gets a 54, Makabe gets a 47, Nagai gets a 53, and Kadaka gets a 59. After the match, basically, Kadaka and Nagai make, title belt motions, as, they've had 2 solid wins here recently, beating, Nishimura and Makabe here, and, Kadaka, and getting a win over Blue Wolf during the G1 tournament on the undercard. So this gets a 61, solid stuff. And then we have our next big match as and they both had good heat in these wrestling. Takehiro Sagiwara and more importantly Ultimo Dragon get the win over Jushin Liger and El Samurai when Ultimo Dragon gets the pin over the junior heavyweight legend Liger within a side DDT. This gets a 62, Samurai gets a 52, Liger gets a 75, Ultimo Dragon gets a 64, Sagiwara gets a 34. So a big win here for Ultimo Dragon getting the win over Liger. And post-match, these two men face off again, basically continuing setup, and it's basically set up official for the big show at the end of the store, Jushin Liger versus Ultimo Dragon, one-on-one, one more time. So this 51. And then we have our semi-main event as the one half of the junior heavyweight tag champs teams up with Nakamura to take on New Japan Black's Chono and Kanemoto. And about that fantastic and decent wrestling, Nakamura and Ishimura get the win over Chono and Kanemoto in 1440 when Nakamura pins Kanemoto. This gets a 68, Ishimura gets a 60, Nakamura gets a 70, Kanemoto gets a 54, Chono gets a 56, mostly because they didn't work well as a team. So not the end of the world here, but a solid little tag match to put over Nakamura as he and Chono face off afterwards. And then in our main event set up last night, at the G1 when Tenzan Sasaki surprisingly made the save for Hiroshi Tenzan after the shoes were doing a beatdown. They team up, and they both had fantastic heat and decent wrestling. Sasaki and Tenzan get the win over Suzuki and Barnett when Tenzan gets another pinfall win over Suzuki with the Tenzan Tombstone Driver. This gets a 67. Tenzan gets a 44, and Sasaki gets a 51 because they have no chemistry partner, which is unfortunate, but Barnett gets a 64, Suzuki gets a 73. And then post-match, basically Tenzan is celebrating, head to the back, Shooter's head to the back, Suzuki's in the ring. When out comes his Pirates Gundan partners, Norton Nakanishi. There's an argument, and then Norton Nakanishi officially turn on Sasaki, ending the partnership and the stable, beating him down, leaving him laying, as this gets a 62. So yeah, that's the end of that stable, and that'll move forward as far as what Sasaki will be doing from here. And it looks like Norton and Nakanishi are now on their own as well. Now we move forward. So what I'm going to do for basically the shows, not every show, but basically for the big shows like this opening show of the tour and maybe the ending show of the tour, is doing some post-match, which will settle, which will basically step in for sort of your post-show New Japan press conferences to explain things. So first we have Nagata basically doing an interview, saying he's not 100% sure when he'll he thinks he deserves a rematch for the title. He never really got against Nakamura, and he wants that shot against Goldberg, because he's faced Goldberg before over in America, but now he's much older and much wiser, and he thinks he can reclaim that title for New Japan, but he he would actually much rather prefer somebody take that belt off of Goldberg so they can have a great match at, in the future when New Japan officials decide it's time for him to get his title. So this gets a 75, and then basically we have the post-conference where Goldberg is still he's still not 100%. He just being cocky. He's the best. Why shouldn't he, show up when he needs to? Because he's Bill Goldberg, the greatest wrestler in kayfabe ever. With Animal and Orton sort of backing him. And then basically at the press conference, Riki Choshu comes out and says, tells him that he's making some calls and he's getting some contracts finalized, and he's going to have somebody to face Goldberg that's going to shock the wrestling world. So basically, Choshu, who we're basically stepping in as sort of the matchmaker, not the official booker, but sort of like, the matchmaker, back office guy, to basically set up that he's going to have a big surprise for Goldberg in the near future. And the show gets us a 65. Solid stuff, it's a tour show, nothing great, but I think it's solid stuff, beginning to build to the, some feuds, the new Pirates Gundan feud, as they fall apart, Norton, the continuing push of Kodaka and the guy as part of the Wild Dogs, debuts of some new folks and stuff like that. But again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically probably do maybe one show, maybe two shows, depends officially on what we're doing exactly. And then from there, I'll show you what else is going on in the other shows, and then that'll be it. So I'll be back in a second with the next show in the tournament. Oh, Fujinami retired. So I think that gives us officially. Yeah, right. Okay, right. He already left. Okay, right, because right, I had him do some jobs at the beginning of things, and he was not happy about that. Oh well, not the end of the world. Regardless, I'll be back in just a moment with the next show on the tour that you guys that I deem enough for you guys to see. Welcome back. It's time for the fourth show of the tour here. As let's go over first the results for the previous two tour shows that you guys can see. So on tour number 2, in front of about 2,500 people at Chikubu Gymnasium in Kanto, we had Kodaka and Yano, members of the Wild Dogs, defeating Pierce and Walters in a 49. We had Samson and Team Tomasello defeated the Young Boys Anzo and Taguchi in a 24. We had Nakanishi Norton winning kind of a squash over Young Boy Nago and very veteran, probably going to retire, Shin Saito. We had in a 8-man elimination tag special, we had Liger, El Samurai, Tiger Mask 4, and Inoue defeating Ultimo Dragon, Sugihara, Koreaman, and Roderick Strong in a 8-man tag of mostly baby faces, but some people getting angry at each other. That got a 67. We had Tanahashi, Blue Wolf, and Nagata of the New Japan Army defeating Mana, Road Warrior Animal, and Rick Steiner of the American Muscle. We had Suzuki and Josh Barnett of the Shooters defeating Yamamoto and Ryoto in a squash in a 58. In a match I probably put too far up the show, in a special junior tag match, we had Heat defeating Brian Danielson. And yet Danielson, he can't do singles matches right now, unfortunately. He's just way too injured. And then in the main event, we had Supernova Gun of Makabe, Nishimura, and Nakamura defeating New Japan Black of Chono, Yoshi, and Goto in a 61. So solid show there. And then in the last show of the week, which was in Grand Ship Seizoko in Chubu, we had Norton Nakanishi squashing Adam Pearce and Josh Walters in a 57. We had Wano Collection AT and Koji Kanemoto defeating Samson and Tomaselli in a 52. We had the American Muscle of Steiner, Animal, and Mana defeating Nago, Yamamoto, and Yes Saito in a 52. We had Makabe and Nishimura of the Supernova Overgun, then defeating the New Japan team, Black team of Goto and Yoshi in a 52, with Blue Wolf defeating Asama Kodaka in a bit of an upset as one half of the tag champs defeats, the two members of the Wild Dogs trying to challenge them in a 60. We had Inoue and Heat and Tiger Mask defeating Strong, American Dragon, and Crayman in a 6-man tag in a 60. Then we had Tanahashi defeating the guy in a 73. We had Tenzan and Ultra Dragon teaming up to defeat Suzuki and Fujita in a 66. And then we had Suzuki and Tenzan fighting. And then we had in our big 2 singles matches, doing things, Nakamura getting his revenge over Rick Steiner for the G1 in a 67, and Sasaki getting a big win over half of the Shooters and Josh Barnett. So again, solid show, nothing too fancy there, but good stuff. But now it's time for the 4th show of the tour, live from the Yutsumotiya Gymnasium. Nope, I probably destroyed that spelling. And a match that'll have some interesting stuff and some continuation of some feuds and some further pushing of things as we continue on the road to our next big show. So we start things with an 8-man tag as Fred Sampson, Tomaselli, Pierce, and John Walters defeat the largely young line team of Taguchi, Yamamoto, Nago, and then Old Man Saito when Pierce pins Taguchi with a spike pile driver. This gets a 28, Walters gets a 41, Pierce gets a 36, Tomaselli gets a 30, Sampson gets a 24, Saito gets a 35, Yamamoto gets a 29, Nago gets a 27, Taguchi gets a 32. Pre-show, negative thing, but still not terrible. Walters and Pierce are slowly rising up. Tomaselli and Sampson are getting up from the depths to reasonable ratings, and the Young Boys are the Young Boys. Then after that, in a continuation of the tag feud, we have Blue Wolf getting the win over Nagai in 11:27 by submission in a 54. Nagai gets a 51, Blue Wolf gets a 49. Then we had Tiger Mask 4 and Wataru Inoue defeat American Dragon and Curryman in 12:53. When Tiger Mask 4 pins Brian Danielson with Tiger Suplex hold, this gets a 61. Inoki gets a 47, Tiger Mask 4 gets a 55, Kerman gets a 63, Danielson with his injury gets a 47, and that officially sets up for Dangerous Dream Night, the Junior Heavyweight Tag Title match of Minoru Fujita and Taiji Ishimori versus Tiger Mask 4. No, sorry, not Tiger Mask 4. Yeah, no, it's Tiger Mask 4 and Rotoru Inoue. I know. In a Junior Heavyweight Tag Title match. So yeah, this gets a 61, solid match. Again, Danielson, I'm probably going to now take off the shelf now that he's done his job, and then Marcus will be floating in for Curryman mostly, I think. Then after that, this is not a good match. Honestly, I probably should have put these guys lower on the card. But Makabe defeats Yoshi in a battle of member of Supernova Gun, and of course New Japan Black with Yoshi. Makabe gets a win over Yoshi in over 10 minutes with Fisherman Buster. This gets a 45. Makabe gets a 45. Yoshi gets a 34. Yeah, so there you go. All right, and after that, we have in a huge upset, Kodaka gets a win over one half the tag champs in Tanahashi by pinfall with a roll-up. This gets a 61. They don't click, unfortunately. Tanahashi gets a 67. Kodaka gets 55. And it's basically a setup that will be the next match added will be a match for the tag team titles. Tanahashi and Blue Wolf making their defense against Kodaki and Mitsai Nagai. There you go. And then in a big six-man tag, we have the Junior Heavyweight Tag Champs Fujita and Nishimura teaming up with part of Supernova Gun and Usama Nishimura, getting a big win over Chono, Kanemoto, and Mono Collection AT in 10:56 when Ishimori pins Kanemoto with Superstar Elbow. This gets a 63, Mono gets a 63, Koji gets a 63, Chono gets a 68, Ishimori gets a 67, Fujita gets a 44, and Nishimura gets a 54. So big win for one of the tag champs. That sort of closes out the Kanemoto and Milano getting any rematches for the junior tag titles anytime soon, which will set up some new stuff for them eventually. And then we have in a big six-man tag, Liger, El Samurai, and Young Boy Anzawa teaming up to face off Dragon, Takamura, and Sugawara. And this one, Dragon, Takamura, and Sugawara get the win over Liger, El Samurai, and Anzawa when Ultimo Dragon submits Anzawa. This gets a 61, Anzawa gets a 25, Samurai gets a 53, Liger gets a 71, Sugawara gets a 36, Takamura gets a 442, and Ultimo Dragon gets a 61. And post-match, Liger and Dragon continue to argue. This gets a 59. As we continue to push to the match, I should probably also add, just so I don't completely forget it, Jushin Liger versus Ultimo Dragon for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. There you go. And then in Nagata starting go after members of American Muscle, Yuji Nagata gets the win over Rotor Animal in a little over 11 minutes by pinfall. Unfortunately, they don't click. I'm not the end of the world. This still gets a 66 as Nagata is just that damn good as he gets a 65, and Walt gets a 56, and that's it. So 66 overall, and just a big one for Nagata. And then Shinsuke Nakamura gets a measure of revenge over Josh Barnett in 12:54 as he hits the big, not the PK, the Kinshasa or Bombay in a little under 13 minutes as he gets a 71. Barnett gets a 59. And then in our main event, which honestly probably should have been, but I wanted to basically set this up. Tenure returns to team up with Sasaki as Pirates Gundan explode. As in about that fantastic heat in decent wrestling, Norton Nakanishi defeat Tenryu and Sasaki when Nakanishi pins Sasaki with a Hercules cutter. This gets a 64, Sasaki gets a 68. Tenryu is just too old at this point as he gets a 41. Nakanishi gets a 63, Norton gets a 63 as well. And the show overall gets us a 66 in a little under 2,500 people. So solid show as, we sort of still some big matches for Dangerous Dream Night. And then we also continue on we continue the feud for the set up the tag title feud, continuing, the Pirates Gundan feud. Nagata starting to go after members of American Muscle as he makes sort of his challenge towards the IWGP title, even though challenger for that title still isn't officially announced. So we continue this. So any news? Right, Fujita has left because Taguchi is now a regular wrestler. And we have Barnett. We have people going after Minoru Tanaka and Barnett. Hopefully we'll get them both back, but we'll just have to see about that. But anyway, I'll be back in just a second for the next show on the tour. Or at least the next show on the tour that you guys will see. Alright, only one show to go in because we're at the 6th show of the tour, and then we're going to have one show after that to show you guys in the final, end of the tour show. But to go over the last tour show, we had Mana defeating Ryoto Jushin in his singles debut, getting a 23, with Takamura and Sugawara defeating Samson and Tomaselli in a 31. We had Rick Steiner, Road Warrior Animal of the American Muscle, then defeating Adam Pearce and John Ultimo in a bit of a squash in a 55. Curryman Roderick Strong get the win over the Young Boys of Anzo and Taguchi in a 39. The Wild Dogs of Yano, Nagai, and Kodaka get a win over Yamamoto, Blue Wolf, and Nago in a 50. Kanemoto and Goto defeat Heat and Otomi Nashimura in a 60. Tashi Ishimori defeat Wataru Inoue in a 57. Tenzan and Sasaki defeat Barnett and Norton in a 65. Then the main event, Chono and Yoshi defeats Nakamura and Makabe. But unfortunately, that's not the big news from that night's show. Makabe broke his back, so he'll be out for close to 16 months plus. So he's basically gone. I hope I'm still running this series by the time he gets back. But yeah, he's not going to be back for a long time. So I might have to rethink the whole Supernova Gun stable in general because he was gone for a while, then he got injured. So, honestly, the long-term storyline was building up Makabe to be the Makabe he was in the late 2000s, early 2010s in New Japan, or at least a version of that. But with him being gone, I may have to rethink things totally here. Regardless, let's get rolling. The next show. We're in Miyagi, Japan, for a big show. Didn't draw, but I'm not really, I'm going by, the real life drawing numbers as far as, what should be the big shows, because the game doesn't deal with touring that greatly. No, not a big thing. Anyway, we have Liger and El Samurai opening things up, going over Vito Tomaselli and Franz Simpson in 10 minutes when El Samurai pins Tomaselli. I'm sure Samson and Tomaselli were psyched to be in the same ring as Liger, but just a good win to put Liger and Samurai over. This gets a 59, El Samurai gets a 56, Liger gets a 76, Samson gets a 28, and Tomaselli gets a 32. And then in the next match, Kodaka and Nagai get a bit of a squash win, defeating Sato and Ryoto in 10 minutes with Nagai pins Sato 55, Nagai gets a 53, Kodaka gets a 58, Ryoto gets a 40, and Sato gets a 38. As the Wild Dogs get a big one here. Then another preview of the junior tag match coming up at the big touring show. Tiger Max 4 gets a big win over one half of the tag champions in Minoru Fujita in a little over 10 minutes with a Tiger Suplex hold, as this gets a 54, Tiger Max 4 gets a 54, and Fujita gets a 38. And then in a bit of a war between, the New Japan Black and Supernova Gun, Nishimura gets a win over Yoshi in a little under 9 minutes by submission. This gets a 37. Pre-show ding, Nishimura gets a 53, Yoshi gets a 35. Then in just a special singles match, Ultimo Dragon continues to look like a star defeating Heat in a little under 14 minutes with the side DDT. This gets a 60, Heat gets a 55, Ultimo Dragon gets a 57, and Dragon gets a big singles win before his big match against Liger at the big tour ending show. And then we have a bit of an fun little angle here. Not angle, but a continue build up for both the Sasaki-Suzuki feud and the junior tag feud, as Sasaki and Inoue team to face against Suzuki and Ishimori. And they win. In the match here, Suzuki and Ishimori get the win over Sasaki and Inoue in a little over 10 minutes when Ishimori pins Inoue with Hurricanrana. This gets a 68, Inoue gets a 46, Sasaki gets a 66, Ishimori gets a 63, and Suzuki gets a 69. Inoue's gimmick is seeing still, so I'll have to tweet that. And then in a big title match set up, a show or two ago, Hiroshi Tanahashi makes another defense of his under 30 openweight title, defeating Hiroki Goto in 13 minutes with a German suplex hold. 66, straightforward match. Tanahashi gets the win. Goto still is, a bit of a young boy here, but he gets to look good. But Tanahashi gets a 77, Goto gets a 36, and as Tanahashi is celebrating, Kodaka and a guy of the Wild Dogs come out and just go after Tanahashi, taking him out and holding the tag belts high before throwing them on Tanahashi to the boos of the crowd. As look at the 60, continuing to set up the tag title match at the show tour ending show. And then you have Nakamura team up with the Curryman take on Chono and Milano Collection AT, but in this one, Chono and Collection AT defeat Nakamura and Curryman in a little under 15 minutes when Milano Collection AT pins Curryman. This gets a 72 as Milano Collection AT gets a bit of a, gets some momentum back. As Curryman gets a 62, Nakamura gets a 75, Milano Collection AT gets a 62, and Chono gets a 67, and Curryman's gimmick is also getting stale. And then I believe this is the main event. No, okay, first we have Tenzan defeating Norton in a little over 12 minutes by pinfall to Tenzan Tombstone Driver. This gets a 58. Tenzan's still injured, but it's still putting him over. Tenzan gets a 51. Norton gets a 57, and it's basically set up afterwards that at Dangerous Dream Night, it will be Hiroshi Tenzan taking on Mamoru Nakanishi. And then in our main event, which honestly, outside Nagata and Blue Wolf getting there is, not, oh shoot, I booked Goto twice. That should have been Nago, not, okay, well, let's pretend that's Nago, not Goto. But Goldberg, Steiner, Animal, and Mana of the American Muscle defeat Nagata, Blue Wolf, Goto, and Yasuda when Goldberg pins the returning Yasuda with a jackhammer. This gets a 66, Mana gets a 43, Animal gets a 64, Steiner gets a 51, Goldberg gets a 59, Yasuda gets a 45, Blue Wolf gets a 51, and Nagata gets a 77. American Muscle are celebrating when Rikishoshu comes out to the ring and intros Goldberg's opponent for Dangerous Dream Night, none other than the returning Shinya Hashimoto. Big pop for that. Hashimoto's back in New Japan, at least for a couple matches here, as he's not going to be here permanently, but, he's someone since, who could have been maybe brought back at this point, and since, in theory, in this version of New Japan, somebody was owning it, here we go. So that sets up for the IWGP Heavyweight title, Hashimoto versus Goldberg. Two guys just kicking the crap out of each other. And I forgot to officially add it, but I'm sure this should have been fairly obvious to the last couple of shows I've shown. It was going to be Masahiro Chono versus Nakamura in a rematch. And yes, I know I have awful chemistry. That's why I'm blowing this off now. They have had one match. Chono got the win, but I'm still going to have to blow this feud off since I've been pushing it for the last few months. So there you go. Show is filling out now. And overall, the show itself gets a 69. So solid stuff. So yeah, we got not two more shows. What's what we're looking for here? We got one more show. I'm going to do shows as far as the setup, and then it'll be the big Dangerous Dream Night, and then that'll be that. So one other thing I wanted to show you guys was Noah had their big show. Where are you, Noah? Yeah, they had Navigation in front of 33,000 people, and in the main event, Akiyama defeated Tanahashi to retain the title in 82, and Nagata defeated Masato Tanaka in 78. So there you go. But yeah, as far as medical, as you can see, Makabe is out for basically 16 months. And Izuka is still out for another 3 months, unfortunately. Yeah. There's going to be some changes when people come back. Tenzan and Danielson are both working. I'm trying to keep Danielson off at least when I have to, but Tenzan's sort of being pushed strong. So, this is Japanese wrestling, so I'm sure it has happened before. Takayama will be back in about a month, so basically as part of the next cycle. But these guys will be back closer to, I believe, to right before the Tokyo Dome show. But anyway, I'll be back in just a second with the final build-up show, and then it'll be time for the Dangerous Dream Night, rather. All right, it's now time for the final, well, not the final show, but the final big show before the show-ending tour show. But what I gotta show you guys first is more bad news. Medical Goto's out for 8 months with a shattered knee. Yeah. So that's both of the big stables I basically created. 1/3 of the people are now out of it. So we might need to do some readjusting with stuff. Also, because you'll see the booking and be asking some questions, Josh Barnett signed with the WWE, so he'll be gone basically after this tour. So once I go to show you see what I'm doing as far as that goes. So yeah, there'll be some readjustment going into the Dome show for the next for the last tour and for the next tour and the Tag League tour, then the Tokyo Dome show, basically readjusting stables and such. But before we do that, let's go over the last couple shows. As first, we had Goto and Yoshi of the of New Japan Black, defeating Pearson Walters in 8:31. Tiger Mask 4, Montero Inoue, defeating Samson and Tomaselli in 8:48. Animal Sayonara Mana of American Muscle, defeating Naruse, Ryoto, and Yosuda in 8:55. Ulu of Tanahashi and Nagata from the New Japan Army, defeating the Wild Dogs of Koyaka, Yano, and Nagai in 8:65. We had an 8-man tag of Anzawa, Taguchi, Liger, and El Samurai, defeating Ultimo Dragon, Yamamoto, Takamura, and Sugawara in 8:56. Then Liger and Dragon brawling. We had Scott Norton defeating Asuma Nishimura in 8:56. Then we had Chono, Blanco, Shineti, and Kanemoto defeating Nakamura, Crewman, and Roderick Strong in 8:68. And in the main event, with Nakamura, defeated Barnett in Barnett's first job as he goes out on his back on his way out of the territory. And then after that, we had Naruse and Ryoto defeating Walters and Pearson in 8:35. Samson, Tomaselli, and Ultimo Dragon defeating Liger, Heat, and Anzawa. We had Mana, Sayonara Animal defeat Blue Wolf, Yamamoto, and Nigo. We had Taguchi, Danielson, Tiger Mask 4, and Inoue defeated Yasugiura, Fujita, Takamura, and Ishimori. Then we had Goto, Yoshi, Chono, Long Shineti, and Koji Kanemoto defeating Curryman, Roderick Strong, Shinji Nakamura, Osama Nishimori, and who was the last guy? Oh, right. Right. Curryman, Roderick Strong, Curryman, Shinshin, Osama Nishimura, and who was the last guy? And right, Hiro Sato filling in for the injured Makabe for this match. In 8:58, when Norton Nakanishi defeating Richu Tenzu and Hiroshi Tenzan in 61, and then the event, Sasaki gets his revenge over Josh Burnett before he gets out of the Torii in 66. Then we got one final big show. Before the big show, we have one last tour show before that, but that'll just be basically get some undercard people, some in-ring time. Now it's time, let's get on to the show. As in front of 2,500 people at the Narita City Gymnasium, we start with John Walters, and Pearson and Samson defeating Nigo, Anzawa, and Noguchi in 12:47. Walters pins Anzawa with a twisting powerbomb. Taguchi gets a 33, Anzawa gets a 26, Nigo gets a 27, Samson gets a 28, Pierce gets a 37, and John Walters gets a 43. Pre-show ding, but still nothing too bad, as this gets a 29. Not a pre-show, but a unimportant ding. Then we had Norton and Nakanishi defeat Team Tenzan and Sato in a match I should have put higher up the card in a 59. This Nakanishi gets a 60, Norton gets a 58, Sato gets a 33, and Tenzan gets a 55. So good squash to basically put over Norton Tenzan and Nakanishi basically brawl at the end of things. And I totally forgot to set up people's get rid of people's stale gimmicks. Oops. Then we had Nagata defeating Mana, and basically his continued going over going against the American Muscles folks, as this gets a 68, Nagata gets a 78, Mana gets a 44. Then in a final 8-man junior tag, we had Strong, Curryman, Tiger Mask 4, and Inoue defeating faced on Feud and Milano T, Kanemoto, and Ishimori, and Tiger Mask 4 pins Ishimori with the Tiger Suplex hold. This gets a 65, Inoue gets a 44, Tiger Mask 4 gets a 52, Curryman gets a 62, Strong gets a 52, Ishimori gets a 69, Kanemoto gets a 63, Milano T gets a 66, and Fujita gets a 43. And then next up, we have the Wild Dog getting a big win over Tanahashi, with facing off Tanahashi, Blue Yamamoto, and the tag champs and the young boy Yamamoto get the big win here over the Wild Dogs, as Tanahashi pins Yano with a German suplex hold. This gets a 64. Yano gets a 29. Nagai gets a 53. Kodak gets a 59. Yano gets a 34. Blue gets a 51. And Tanahashi gets a 77. And then after that, Liger gets a win over Barnett in a little over 15 minutes with a sheer drop brainbuster. This gets a 69. As Liger just gets a win over Barnett since he's going out of the territory, like I said. And then in a big 6-man tag, Steiner, Animal, and Goldberg get the win over the undercard 6-man of Yasuda, Naruse, and Rito in 10 minutes when Goldberg pins Naruse with a jackhammer. This gets a 59, Goldberg gets a 62, Animal gets a 64, Steiner gets a 51, Rito gets a 41, Naruse gets a 51, and Yasuda gets a 45. And then, as the American Muscle are celebrating, Hashimoto comes in and drops Goldberg with a quick DDT, knocking him down, and then there's his face-off as we continue to build to the big match at the Big Torrender, as this gets a 74. And then we have Suzuki defeating Tenryu in 10 minutes. This gets a 64. Suzuki gets a 70. Tenryu gets a 41. And then in the main event, and then Sasaki tries to save Suzuki, but he gets KO'd and locked in a long sleeper hold before New Japan officials can break him off. And this basically writes off Sasaki for the next big show, because I looked him up and he's working for All Japan, so we can't have that match. And unfortunately, he's a freelancer, so I can't send him to exclusive written. So here we are. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So let's get a 67. And then in our main event, Nakamura and Nishimura defeat Chono and Yoshi in a 68 in a little over 60 minutes when Chono pins Nishimura with a shiny Suzuki kick. This gets a 68. Chono gets a 67, Yoshi gets a 35, Nakamura gets a 71, and Nishimura gets a 56. And overall, the show itself gets a 69. So yeah, not the best show ever, but it is what it is. Especially like after I just some things. Chono and Yoshi having good chemistry is good. But yeah, I'll go over. Well, yeah, you guys will see the card in a second here. So don't need to do that. Let's see here. Any news? Hashi thinks. I mean, that's good. Yeah, Goto's injured, so there you go. So I'll be back in just a moment. Actually, I'm just going to do this on. So I've just made a decision as with booking there. There's no point to doing one last tour show, so let's just remove this event. So next thing will be Dangerous Dream Night. Just because like there's no reason not to have the show there. So yeah. I'll be back in a second with that big show. Alright, it's time for New Japan Dangerous Dream Night 2004, live from the Rikuokugan in beautiful Tokyo, Japan. So let's get rolling. I just want to double check. Okay, yeah. I was just making sure I wasn't forgetting anything too obvious. Okay, yep, here we go. So we start with our opening match, which involves Adam Murku Nursi, Rito Chudson, and Tia Yosuda, our undercard guys, defeating Adam Pierce, Josh Walters, and Hiroshi Nego in 10-20 when Nursi pins Nego. Straightforward match. This gets a 28 because of the unimportant thing. Nego gets a 27, Walters gets a 42, Adam Pierce gets a 39, Yosuda gets a 46, Ryoto gets a 43, and Nursi gets a 52. So yeah, Walters and Pierce both did pretty well. They started out at 35s and 30s respectively. Now they're up to either the low 40s or high 30s, low 40s in matches. So I think they've earned at least another tour. But decent win for our undercard guys. Just give them a little bit of lift, just me. And next up, we have our specials junior heavyweight singles match as Heat defeats El Samurai in 13 minutes by pinfall. This gets a 64, Heat gets a 62, El Samurai gets a 53. Not much to say about this, just it's a straightforward match. Nothing special. Heat gets the win. El Samurai can use a job, and I probably need to rebuild him a little bit. And then we have our tag title match. I mean, not our tag title match, a big junior tag match has been built up as Roderick Strong and Curryman get the big win over Milano Collection AT and Koji Kanemoto in 14.5 minutes, and Curryman pins Milano Collection AT with the Angel Wings. This gets a 71, Curryman gets a 69, Roderick Strong gets a 54, Koji gets a 62, and Milano Collection AT gets a 72. And we change Curryman's gimmick, which gets an initial gimmick of awful. That's unfortunate. And then we have a match where Suzuki basically comes out for an open challenge. Sasaki misses the show because he's a freelancer that prefers All Japan. So Suzuki basically, rants about wanting a challenge. And out comes the retiring Tatsumi Fujinami, making his return after a couple months off. And yeah, all right. And unfortunately for Suzuki, unfortunately for Fujinami, he's old, and Suzuki beats him up, hits a gotcha pile driver, and gets the win over 10 minutes. As this gets a 66. Suzuki gets a 75, Fujinami gets a 41, and that's about it. Straightforward win. Again, couldn't use Suzuki-Sasaki match, so this Fujinami gets to show up, do the job, and hopefully not be too bad about it. And then in a big match, Hiroshi Tenzan defeats Manamu Nakajima in 12:57 by pinfall with the Tenzan Tombstone Driver. And this gets a 67, Tenzan gets a 54, Nakanishi gets a 66. They have good chemistry, and Tenzan gets the big one here to finish off basically his little feud. And that's about it. And then we have our junior tag title match. As Muro Fuchida and Tishi Ishimori get another win, defeating Tiger Mask 4 and Inoue in 15 minutes when Fujita pins Tiger Mask 4 with a Fujita driver. They make defense number 2 of the junior heavyweight tag titles, as this gets a 61, Ishimori gets a 63, Fujita gets a 36, when Inoue gets a 48, and Tiger Mask 4 gets a 57. So again, they have bad chemistry, but we're slowly trying to get rid of that via just having them team up and wrestle. And then in a match, basically, because Nagata defeated all members of American Muscle, and Barnett had something to do here. So this is basically just made as a big match, as Nagata defeats Barnett by pinfall and sends him off to WWE. This gets a 77, Barnett gets a 57, Nagata gets a 79, and that's it. Just a straightforward win to put Nagata over and continue to push him as a former G1 winner. And then Jushin, Liger, and Double Dragon have a great match, but they fight to a draw in about 30 minutes. As this gets 72, Liger gets a 68, Double Dragon gets a 57. What hurt this? Low morale, awful gimmick, inaccuracy. Okay, I guess, yeah, that makes sense. But fun stuff here, as this gets a 72. But then, they're facing off and it looks like they're going to fight again. When out of nowhere, the men who lost earlier tonight, Milano Collection, AT, and Koji Kanemoto, jump Dragon and Liger in a 55, but, basically looks like these two men may have to put aside their hatred for each other or their competitiveness against each other to fight off against Milano GT and Koji Kanemoto, as this gets a 55, like I said. And then we have our tag title match, as in a huge match. Simon Kodaka and Masai Nagai of the Wild Dogs get the defeat Tanahashi and Blue Wolf in a little over 60 minutes. Kodaka pins Blue Wolf to win the IWGP Tag Team Champions. This gets a 71, Blue Wolf gets a 51, Tanahashi gets an 82, Nagai gets a 60, and Kodaka gets a 62. And we change his gimmick. There we go. Fun stuff. So yeah, basically, it's time to move Tanahashi on to other things. He had a fun little tag right here. Brought Blue Wolf over a bit, but these guys have been doing well as a team, so there we go. And then, yeah, in a match that I knew was going to be this, Chono and Nakamura face off. The match had a fantastic heat, but only decent wrestling because they don't click. But Nakamura gets a clean win over Chono in a little under 20 minutes. Hits the Bombay, gets a victory. Nakamura gets a 60, Chono gets a 59, and that's about it. And then, this is unfortunate. This may have tanked our show. Like, this may have really hurt our show. In a match that just falls apart. Like, maybe, I'm going to say this kind of becomes a work shoot, but eventually, like, Hashimoto, like, this kind of becomes a shoot, but eventually, Hashimoto begins to, like, maybe actually cooperate, and Goldberg gets the win here. Like, Jesus Christ, what happened here? I mean, outside of them not clicking. Poor use, declining physical ability, stamina, inconsistency. I mean, I didn't get any, knock that this match was too long. Shit. Okay, well. Anyway, Goldberg gets the win eventually. Yikes, that's a main event of. Yikes, okay. And then afterwards, first, your G1 winner, Nagata, comes down to basically make the challenge to Goldberg. But then Nakamura comes down saying he beat Chono and now he wants his rematch. But then as they begin to argue and actually face off, out of nowhere, Tenzan rolls in the ring, hits Goldberg from behind, hits him with the tombstone driver on Goldberg, and it looks like he might be the next challenger after defeating Nakamura earlier tonight. And yeah, this gets a 74, and the show itself gets a 66. Okay, so I think that went over the sky perfect, but yeah, that's those last two, yikes. Yeah, I mean, I was expecting low 60s for that match. I expected that. I mean, I guess it probably knocked off 8 points plus yikes. That's really unfortunate. Yeah, that's a really unfortunate show. Oh boy. Okay. Okay, we got a whole bunch of people offering us. Kodaka got an offer, and we got an offer. Okay. Yeah. Is there anything else of note? I mean, yeah, got 287,000 buys, which isn't the end of the world. But yeah, not the best. And NJPW had this, okay, so they had just as bad a show. Muto defeats Sasaki in just a bad match. Interesting. So, a little bit of checking in. So, first, a little overview of the titles. So, your under 30 openweight champion is still Tanahashi. It's basically his belt until I get rid of it. The tag champs are now Kodaka and Nagai. Tanahashi and Blue Wolves, and reign ends after one defense, or two defenses, I guess. It loses their V2 defense. The junior heavyweight tag champs are still Ishimori and Fujita after 2 defenses. Junior heavyweight champion is still Liger after defeating, going to a draw with Dragon. And you're still IWGP heavyweight champion is Bill Goldberg. So again, if we go to the overness of folks, So Perception, still no major stars, which is probably part of the problem. Stars though, okay, so Goldberg. Goldberg's still at an 81. Tanahashi's getting there. He dropped a point, but he's still really over. Liger, we're slowly rebuilding him. Chono, I'm sure dropped a couple. Yeah, Chono's still in 83. Nakamura gets looks like he gained about a couple points here. Yeah, but if we got Chono, did he? Oh, yeah, Chono stayed the same, so that's a positive. Let me go back to Tanahashi. Tanahashi only dropped a point because he dropped the tag titles. Nagata's about the same, so nothing huge there, which makes sense. For well-known guys, let's see here. Tenzan gained a point, so that's good for him. Or not. How well did we kill him? Okay, actually not that at all, so don't feel that bad. Zaki lost a point. Kanemoto lost some points because doing the job. Nakanishi, about the same. Suzuki, about the same. Norton, about the same. Hashimoto, he actually gained a point because of the main event match. Ultimo Dragon, literally the same. So how about recognizable folks? Curryman, up a couple points. Heat, up a point or two. Horaka, up 4 points, so there you go. Makabe, up a point, but now he's gone forever. And let's see here. Unimportant, let me just see. So Adam Pearce went from 5 points to 17, so that's not bad. Blue Wolf, let me see what that... Okay, so he gained a decent amount of popularity. New guy Fred Sampson, again from 0 popularity to 16 popularity. Let's see here, Josh Walters from 2 popularity to 17 popularity. And Mana from 3 popularity to 17 popularity. And interesting. To close things out, where are you? Ryotto. Nope, not Ryotto. Vito Tomaselli for 1.16 points. So yeah, those guys stay on at least for another tour. But yeah, next up will be, well, first up I think will be a special show, which I'll go over about that time. Then it'll be one more show, one more big show, and then the Tag League, and then the Tokyo Dome shows. But that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this. Go down and give it a like. Comment below what you're enjoying and not enjoying. Subscribe to the channel for more TEW 2020 content, including this series and my TEW 2005 series. But that's all for now, so I'll talk to you later, and adios. Have a good one.